Perez,
Present.
present Counselor Curran,
Present.
present Counselor Walsh,
Present.
present Counselor Brown. Absent Counselor Davila. Absent Counselor Hurst. Absent Counselor Edwards.
Present.
Present Counselor Allen.
Hold on. Present.
Present Counselor Govan.
Counselor Govan is here, but we can't. Oh, there she is.
Oh, they should.
Hi, I'm here. Sorry, my volume.
Present Counselor Fenton.
Present.
Present Counselor Whitfield. Absent Counselor Letterman.
Present. Okay, we do have quorum. So what we'll do is we'll proceed through the reports of committee, and then we'll see if the rest of our colleagues join us. So at this time, members, I'd invite you to rise and join me in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, councilors. Members and guests may be seated. Are there any reports of committee? And before we take the first report of committee, Madam Clerk, can you please recognize Councilor Brown, who's coming in now?
Counselor Brown.
Present.
Present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilor Walsh?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, the Springfield Women's Commission met last week, and interestingly enough, you may recall in the public speak last week, we had someone come forward and talk about domestic violence and a call to action. And since that is one of the causes and platforms the Springfield Women's Commission is interested in, I asked Bernice to join our Springfield Women's Commission meeting. She did, and we are going to work together and initiate a call to action on domestic violence, and hopefully we'll have something tangible in the fall. So it shows how important public speak can be and where it can lead to.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Councilor Govan?
Yes, so I chaired my first maintenance and development committee after the changes. And I had Councilor Perez, Councilor Letterman, Mr. President, yourself, and Councilor Allen. And there may have been some other councilors who joined us after, and I didn't write their names down, so I apologize for that. But we did go through the agenda and it was just first reviewing of the Verizon work that's needing to be done, as well as the Eversource gas line at the end. So we're going to be having more discussion on those items, and that's my report.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Before we go further, Madam Clerk, can you please recognize Councilor Davila?
Counselor Davila.
Present.
Present.
Are there any further reports of committee? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on accepting the reports.
On accepting the reports of committee, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst. Absent. Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield, absent. Counselor Letterman.
Yes, votes are sufficient and the reports are accepted. Madam Clerk, please call the first item.
The first item on the agenda is the election of the City Council Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Members, because this matter deals with the election of one of our officers, I've asked the clerk to chair this portion of the meeting, and will now turn the floor over to her to proceed through the election.
Good evening. As discussed, Counselor Letterman turned over the meeting to me to run the election of the Vice President. We did receive a legal opinion that indicated that we were going to follow the same process that we had previously followed for the election of Vice President. And I'm just going to briefly go over that process. I'm going to declare the nominations open for the office of Vice President, and any counselor that wishes to do so may rise to nominate another counselor or themselves. And then nominations will be seconded. After each nomination, the chair is going to call for any further nominations, if there are any. If not, I will close the nominations and then take a voice vote where each counselor is asked to actually say the name of the person that they are nominating for Vice President. So that being said, I'm going to declare that nominations are open for the office of Vice President.
So, Madam Clerk, I entertain a motion that Councilor Edwards be the vice chair of the committee of the council.
So Councilor Perez has made a motion to elect Vice President Melvin Edwards and was seconded by, was that
Me.
Counselor
Counselor
Fenton?
Yes.
Are there any further nominations? Again, I'm going to ask, are there any further nominations? Seeing no further nominations, I'm going to entertain a motion to close nominations.
So moved.
So moved.
Motion by Counselor Govan and seconded by Counselor Walsh. Counselor Perez on closing the nominations.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst. Absent, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield. Absent, Counselor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes. Now that the nominations have been closed, I'm going to ask each counselor in order of their roll call order to state the name of the counselor that you want to vote to fill the office of Vice President. Counselor Perez.
Councilor Edward.
Counselor Edwards. Counselor Curran.
Melvin Edwards.
Melvin Edwards. Counselor Walsh.
Melvin Edwards.
Melvin Edwards. Counselor Brown. Counselor Brown. Away, Counselor Davila.
Melvin Edwards.
Melvin Edwards. Counselor Hurst. Absent, Counselor Edwards.
Melvin Edwards.
Melvin Edwards. Counselor Allen.
Melvin Edwards.
Melvin Edwards. Counselor Govan.
Melvin Edwards.
Melvin Edwards. Counselor Fenton.
Melvin Edwards.
Melvin Edwards. Counselor Whitfield. Absent, Counselor Letterman.
Melvin Edwards.
Melvin Edwards.
Madam Clerk, Counselor Brown has rejoined.
Counselor Brown.
Melvin Edwards.
Thank you. Melvin Edwards.
Madam Clerk, Counselor Hurst has also joined.
Counselor Hurst.
Present, and I'm assuming this is the vote for the vice president. Is that accurate, Madam Clerk?
Correct.
Melvin Edwards.
Thank you. Melvin Edwards. Now that Counselor Edwards has received sufficient votes to be elected as City Council Vice President. And with
Thanks,
that, I'm gonna turn it back over to Counselor President Letterman.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Counselor Edwards, would you like to make a statement at this time? Vice President Edwards?
First of all, thank you, Mr. President, and Gladys also for presiding. To my colleagues, thank you sincerely. I appreciate this opportunity to serve in this role. I just really want to tell you how much I appreciate this opportunity. I've said it many times that it's not the title that makes us who we are or what we do. And regardless of our position, we were all elected duly by the voters of Springfield. So this is a particular honor for me, and I thank you very much. And I look forward to continuing to work, and I'm proud to serve with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Edwards. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
The next item is a Verizon petition for Benton Street.
Is there anybody here to speak to this item?
Yeah, yes, good evening. For Verizon is Al Bissett, Ellen Cummings. We do have some vendors on the line, Ross Bilodeau. If there are any other vendors that enter the call, if you can please announce yourself.
Yes, good evening. This is Ross Bilodeau. I'm not set to speak on the Benton Street. I'm here for items 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Thank you, Ms. Cummings. I know you were with us on the committee. Do you wish to offer further testimony on the Verizon petitions?
I do. Again, I have my right-of-way engineer, Al Bissett, on the line. I will let Al comment on why we need to underground into those. But as we said, we normally go aerial to feed our small cells. We are going into an area that is all underground, as we explained in the committee meeting. So we don't have the option in this area to go aerial. So that is why we are petitioning to go underground to feed those aerial cables where the small cells for wireless will be. Al, I think you can probably add more to that, being from our engineering side.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, you can, okay. Yeah, essentially this is, these projects are to place one 4-inch conduit along the various roadways in Springfield that are part of the petition. It's really going to be a narrow trench, a couple of feet wide, going along these streets. And it's one conduit going to from usually a manhole or a handhole to an adjacent pole. And so all of the abutters have been duly notified. We did have public hearings at the locations, and we really did not have any objection at this point to the project. So they're pretty simple. Again, there's really no aerial presence on these streets, so we're pretty much relegated to going underground, and typically that's more beneficial to the neighborhood. They would prefer to see it go underground versus aerial. So beyond that, I don't really have much more to add, and so I would just leave it to the City Council's consideration.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the representatives from Verizon on items 2 through 9? Councilor Walsh.
No, Mr. President, I was just wondering if we were able to take them all together.
Without objection, yes, we'll take 2 through 9 together.
Thank
Any
you.
further questions for Verizon on items 2 through 9? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the petitions 2 through 9.
Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Hurst?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Abstain.
Abstain. Like to roll call for Counselor Whitfield, who I see is on.
Present.
Present. And will you be voting on this item, Counselor Whitfield?
What is this item?
It's 2 through 9, the petitions for Verizon.
I'm gonna abstain because I wasn't here.
Abstain, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, votes are sufficient and the petitions are approved. Thank you to the representatives of Verizon. Counselor Walsh, did you have a point of order?
Oh, sorry, my hand is, I didn't lower my hand. Thank you.
No problem. Madam Clerk, please call item 10.
Item 10 is Eversource Gas on Moore Street.
Is there anybody here to speak to item 10 from Eversource Gas?
Hi, this is Matthew Nichols from Eversource Gas. So yes, we talked about this item last week. It's a relatively small project, roughly 400 or 500 feet of replacement on Moore Street. I understand that there were some concerns surrounding restoration and also the current condition of Riverside Road. I intend to attend the neighborhood council meeting tomorrow at 5 p.m. to reassure residents that, every effort will be made to return their street to better condition than it was before. So if there's any questions or concerns, let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Counselor Perez.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I will entertain a motion to table this matter. There was some concerns raised on the subcommittee meeting. The abutters had not been notified. The Riverside Street has been an issue when it comes to sinking for many, many years. And tomorrow is the New North Citizens Council meeting, and they will be addressing the concerns they have when it comes to this matter. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor Perez. Can you just clarify your motion one more time?
I'm sorry, I was muted. I entertain a motion to table this matter until Eversource meet with the neighborhood council. Thank you.
Counselor Perez has made a motion to lay the item on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was seconded by Counselor Govan. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the motion to lay the item on the table.
On tabling the item, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient and the matter is tabled. Madam Clerk, please call item 11.
Item 11 is the Crosswalk painting for Springfield Cultural Partnership.
Is there anybody here to speak to this item? Please state your name and address for the record. Ms.
Hi,
Finn.
Karen Finn, Executive Director of the Springfield Cultural Partnership. We're located at 127 State Street in Springfield.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to this item?
Yes, thank you. So I have met with the city with, I'm sorry, Mr. Hector Velez and his team, as well as the directors, the organizers of the Springfield Pride Parade, and with Britt Rue of Commonwealth Murals. And we have proposed 2 different locations, with our preference being to the intersection at Main Street and Court Square for the crosswalks to be painted with the Pride colors. Again, our preference would be to do it in conjunction with the next planned Pride Parade, which would not be until June 4th of next year. But we are prepared if the vote doesn't allow for us to wait that long to move ahead more quickly. We feel that the year would give us time for planning, for permits, and for getting police and volunteers, as well as to do public engagement around the project.
Thank you, Ms. Finn. Are there any questions on this petition? Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said the painting, you said 2 locations or just Main and State?
So our preference is for Main and Court Square.
Oh, Main and Court Square, I'm sorry.
So it's right along Bruce Landon Way outside of the Visitor Center and Court Square. So there's 4 crosswalks at that intersection. If that location were not approved, a secondary location would be across from Pension Plaza. And that one was selected between Mass Mutual Center on Dwight Street and Pension Plaza. And that was chosen as a secondary location simply because we recently installed the Spark public artwork with the Springfield museums in that plaza.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted clarification on the location. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Are there any further questions? Councilor Walsh?
Thank you very much, and nice to see you, Karen. And I am a member of that board. You do great things, bringing art and recognizing artists. But in our previous Finance Committee meetings, we talked about how busy Bruce Landon Way might be. And I think there's going to be significant construction there. And I don't know what the timetable that you have for what their timetable is and whether or not that would affect you. So that's something you might want to look into. And I support your project.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Are there any further questions? Councilor Allen?
Thanks, Mr. President. Yeah, excuse me, Karen. Would all 4 sidewalk or crosswalks at that intersection be painted?
But with your approval, that would be our intent to do the 4 conjoining that are pictured in the agenda. Certainly, we're open to modifications based on City Council's approval. If it was 1, 2, or 4, but I came in with the full ask.
Okay, that's fine. And who would be responsible for painting them?
We would be using Commonwealth Murals, which is, they use a community engaged process. They're the group that did the project management for the Black Lives Matter in front of Court Square, that asphalt street painting, but also Fresh Paint Springfield. We would utilize volunteers and mural artists that are trained through their apprenticeship program that they have launched in Springfield, training artists on mural installations.
And theoretically, it would be done around the time of next year's Pride Parade.
That would be our joint hope. When I spoke to the Pride Parade organizers and Britt, certainly with Fresh Paint, they are very busy in September, and then the winter months can make it difficult to be out painting with the New England weather. So June 4th is the tentative date for next year's Pride Parade. So it would maybe 2 weeks in advance of that.
Okay. And is there an approved design, or is there a committee that looked at what the design is and that sort of thing?
So we did I'm not a graphic artist. I used someone within the city to help lay out colors, and it's simply the colors in order of the Pride flag. There would be space between each color, so it wouldn't be one solid line. But there's a general image in the agenda. It's just not perfect. If approved, we certainly could come back with something that's more concrete to show prior to the painting.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I got it. Okay. All right, thank you. Those are my questions, Mr. President. Thank you, Karen. Sounds good.
Thank you, Councilor Allen. Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. Karen, I do have another question. How do you guys plan on sustaining the line paintings?
For maintenance,
Yes.
like repainting. Yes, so similar with the painting, the Black Lives Matter in front of Court Square. It's anticipated that every 1 to 2 years there will need to be touch-up painting. So there are two options. One is this could be painted for in advance of next year's Pride Parade, and it could be allowed to wear away over the next 2 to 3 years, or we can utilize funds between the three organizations doing this project to do touch-ups similar to Black Lives Matter in front of Court Square.
Okay,
And that
'cause
is
for Black Lives Matter, we funded ourselves, so I just wanted to know where your funding was coming from and who was going to be responsible for the maintenance of that.
Yes, so the Springfield Cultural Partnership and Pride Parade would work with Commonwealth Murals to have them organize the touch-ups with artists and volunteers. And that funding would be raised between the organizations, with the lead being the Cultural Partnership.
Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. I do see Mr. Velez has his hand up. Is there a councilor that, Mr. Velez, are you responding to somebody's comment, somebody's question? Did that councilor wish to hear from Mr. Velez?
Or you can let him speak.
Yep, Councilor Whitfield recognizes Mr. Velez.
Thank you. Hector Velez, 1956 Parker Street. No, they already answered my question. I have a question regarding the painting. Is it going to be temporary or permanent? Because we have a construction project to update that intersection in that area.
Ms. Finn, can you speak to that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Velez. So we are open to, we would love for it to be permanent with, a commitment to raise the funds to update the paint or to fill in areas that have been due to wear and tear every 2 years. And obviously there may be touch-ups every year and a repaint every 2 years. I can't say that would be an indefinite repainting, but certainly I think that we could agree that over the next 3 years that we could raise the funds to maintain that until it needed to be either revisited by the partners doing this or turned back over to the city to make the decision of painting it back to a white striped crosswalk, or finding assistance and funding to maintain the Pride crosswalk.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Finn. Are there any further questions? Councilor Hurst.
Thank you. I just want to go on record in supporting this project. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you, Councilor Hurst. Any further questions on item 11? Seeing none, then without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on approving the petition.
On approving the petition, Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Stay.
Abstain, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman.
Yes, votes are sufficient and the petition is approved. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
Next item is a petition for an honorary sign titled Ben Swan Way.
Is there anybody here to speak to this item?
Hector Velez, 1956 Parker Street. I don't know if Sean is there, the person that requests the honorary sign. Because on my phone, I don't know.
I see. He is here, Mr. Velez. Councilor Curran, did you wish to speak to this item?
Certainly. First, I want to thank Hector for his work on this, and as well as Chris Signoli. This is an effort to honor State Representative Ben Swan for his 22 years of service in the Massachusetts State House. We are going to name Ben Swan Way for the cut through on Upper State Street at 815 State Street on Saturday, June 18th at 10 a.m. And certainly all the councilors are invited, and invites have gone out for this event. And just a great way to honor the service of Benjamin Swan. And if anyone would like to add their thoughts to it, feel free. And we certainly like to see everyone there at that event.
Thank you, Councilor Curran. Any questions or statements on this? Councilor Brown?
I want to thank my colleague, Councilor Curran, for the work and effort to honor a great icon in our community, who's really paved the way when it comes to the different Black and brown people in my area. I definitely know that Councilor Curran has put a lot of work and effort in this, and it's something that he's been trying to do for a long time. Not that long, but long enough. So I do commend him for even recognizing all the hard work that Mr. Swan has done, and I commend him for his effort. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Perez, followed by Councilor Gobon.
Yes, I am happy that this project is taking place, knowing Ben Swan for so many years, and see him in action, given to the community with passion. This is a great project. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. Councilor Gobon.
I just want to reiterate that. I want to thank Councilor Curran for putting this forward and for inviting us all. I know I spoke to you this morning and said I wasn't going to be able to make it, but I'm going to make sure that I'm there because I think this is a very important time in the city of Springfield, and I want to honor Representative Ben Swan because for all the work that he has done for decades. You know, he hasn't just been here for a little while. He's been here for a very long time, and I just want to make sure that I honor him while I can. So thank you so much, and I totally support this request.
Thank you, Councilor Gobon. Are there any further questions or statements on this petition? Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to go on the record and say that this is a very fitting and deserving renaming of the street. State Rep Swan has been there for a long time. He's done so much in the community, way back to the 60s when he was, fighting for our civil rights. So I think it's very fitting and deserving, and I will be there. Thank you, Councilor Curran, for all your hard work and even offering to let me speak. But I know you'll have so many more grand speakers than I, so I will just be there in support. So thank you, Councilor Curran, for the offer.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Councilor Hurst, followed by Councilor Allen.
Yeah, I was just going to say to my colleague, Councilor Curran, I appreciate your stick-to-itiveness in terms of bringing this project to fruition. I remember one of the first things that you said you wanted to do when you and I met after you first were elected was to name that street after Ben Swan for all that he's done for the community. And so I certainly appreciate your efforts. And, like my colleagues who have spoken before me, we all know the investment that Representative Swan has made in our community. And this is certainly a small token of our appreciation to him. So thanks again, Councilor Curran.
Councilor Allen, then Councilor Hurst. Councilor Allen.
Thanks, Mr. President. To Councilor Curran, great job on this. Hadn't heard of it before, but I saw it on the agenda. I think it's great. And good work and staying with it and honoring someone who's given a lot to this community. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Allen. Are there any further questions or statements? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, I certainly would like to be added as a co-sponsor. I expect many others feel the same.
Yes.
Without objection, Madam Clerk, please add all councilors as co-sponsors on this petition. And without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on accepting the petition.
On accepting the petition, Councilor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman?
Yes, the votes are sufficient and the petition is approved. Madam Clerk, please call item 13.
Item 13 is a CDBG entitlement grant no match in the amount of $3.7 million.
Is there anybody here to speak to this item?
I am Counselor Kathy Bono. I work for the Office of Community Development. This grant is a yearly entitlement grant that the city of Springfield receives. This year it is for $3.7 million. It is a reduction. It actually went down this year for the first time in years. It went down 4.7%. We are told they reduced CDBG entitlement to fund the earmarks at the federal level. The CDBG funds are used for public service activities, public facilities such as parks and sidewalks, emergency repairs, rehab for nonprofits, historic restoration, and economic development, business technical assistance. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Kathy. Are there any questions on item 13? Seeing none, Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you. Kathy, I just wanted to know when the organizations are notified that they're getting the CDBG funding.
We've
Or has
actually, the letters have just gone out because we actually were waiting for the official letter from HUD, which we did receive last week, and for our HUD rep, our contact in Boston, who reviews our action plan. And we answer any questions she has, and she has given us the indication that they are going to approve the plan. It's only then that we send out the letter. So the letter should be going out this week.
Thank you. Can you send us a list of all the awardees of the CDBG funds?
Yes.
Thank you. That's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Are there any further questions? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on accepting the grant.
On accepting the grant, Councilor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman?
Yes, votes are sufficient and the grant is accepted. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
The next item is a home entitlement grant, no match required in the amount of $1.8 million.
Anybody here to speak to this item?
I am also speaking on that item, Kathy Bono. The home entitlement is a yearly entitlement the city receives. This year, it actually did increase by about 8%. The home funds are used for, well, the first-time home buyer program, which is what most people are aware of. It's also used for tenant-based rental assistance. It's used for project-based home ownership. We're required to spend 15% of the grant on building one home. And the rental, rehab, and new construction of affordable housing projects.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll to accept the grant.
On accepting the grant, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
Counselor
Yeah.
Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient and the grant is accepted. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
The next item is item 15, in order accepting Mass Gaming Commission grant contract amendment for $1 million to reimburse the Police Department of FY '23 costs of participation.
Who's here to speak to this item?
Mr. President, TJ Plant, 42 Garfield Street, Springfield. I'm asking for the acceptance of just over $1 million for FY '23's gaming enforcement unit reimbursement. The gaming unit is assigned full-time to the casino, and the gaming commission reimburses us for their salaries, overtime, education incentive, and uniform.
Thank you, Mr. Plant. Are there any questions on this item? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll to accept the grant.
On accepting the grant, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient and the grant is accepted. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
Next item is a HOPWA entitlement grant, no match required, in the amount of $771.8 million. $771,820,000.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Who's here to speak to this item?
Counselor, I am Kathy Bono again. The HOPWA entitlement is a yearly entitlement grant that the city receives. The HOPWA grant is for housing opportunity for persons with AIDS. This grant funds support services and housing opportunity for individuals and families that are dealing with AIDS. It went up this year by 5%, and it is actually a regional grant. So we fund the support services and housing for the region.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll to accept the grant.
On accepting the grant, Counselor Perez.
Abstain.
Abstain, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila. Counselor Davila. Away, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, also yes.
Yes. Yes, Counselor Davila. Yes, Counselor Hurst. Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient. The grant is accepted. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
Next item is the ESG entitlement grant, no match required, in the amount of $332,422.
Who's here to speak to this item?
I am here again. It's Kathy Bono from the Office of Community Development. The ESG Emergency Solutions Grant is a yearly entitlement the city receives. It actually decreased, but less than 1%. It went down less than $1,000. It is to fund the shelters in the city of Springfield for support services and to help people that are in the shelters to receive support services and get out of and obtain permanent housing.
Thank you, Kathy. Are there any questions on this item? Seeing none, Without objection. Madam Clerk, please call the roll to accept the grant.
On accepting the grant, Counselor Perez.
Abstain?
Abstain, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
yes,
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
yes,
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient and the grant is accepted. Madam Clerk. Item.
Item 18 is a Valley Bike Share Grant, no match required in the amount of $61.5 million. I mean, 0.5, $61,454.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Who's here to speak to this item?
Hi, Councilors. Phil Dromey from the Office of Planning and Economic Development. I'm here to speak on this one. This money is going to be used for the purchase of a Valley Bike Share station. The new station is proposed to be located on the corner of Belmont Avenue and Oakland Street. I believe it's going to be located within the parking lot for the Forest Park Middle School. The money is being used for the actual purchase of the bikes, the recharging docks, wayfinding panel, and the actual installation cost. So, as with, for the bike share station, for the Valley Bike System, it was always the goal. We started in the downtown with 9 or 10 stations. It's always been the goal to expand these out into the neighborhoods. We're putting, along State Street. We've got a couple going into Indian Orchard, and this will be going into Forest Park. So it's our goal to continue to add these throughout the system to make this a citywide system.
Thank you, Phil. Are there any questions on this item? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll to accept the grant.
On accepting the grant, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran. Yes, Counselor Walsh.
yes,
Yes, Counselor Brown. Counselor
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
yes,
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient and the grant is accepted. Madam Clerk, please call item 19.
Item 19 is an FY21 certified free cash to Stability Reserve Stabilization Fund in the amount of $5.8 million.
And who's here to speak to this item?
Mr. President, TJ Plan here. So we did send out to the councilors, the breakdown of how all $27.6 million in free cash has been allocated throughout the fiscal year. What we have to do before June 30th is move it to an account. So it doesn't get part of next year's free cash. So there's going to be a series of free cash transfers coming up to the next couple of votes. This one is to go straight to our stabilization reserves and bring it up to $50 million. About $5.8 million. It'll get us just over 50 million for fiscal 21 free cash.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Councilor Govan.
My question is regarding free cash. I wanted to bring it up in the Finance Committee, but I didn't have an opportunity to do that. So I know we've been talking about this for a very long time, and I'm wondering if there's any way that we can find a way to help the residents, especially the elderly residents, with the property taxes. I was at the Finance Committee meeting. I shared with my colleagues that there's a couple that reached out to me, not in my ward, but they reached out to me and I responded to them, and Patrick actually spoke to me about them. They're over 80 years old. They worked their whole lives, and their property taxes continue to go up, and they're on a fixed income. I brought them the information regarding the abatement. They did apply for an abatement, but unfortunately they didn't qualify for it because the house is valued where the house was valued. And they're not getting any benefit from that necessarily, except that their property taxes are going up. And I'm just wondering if there's a way for us to at least, consider something to help our, especially seniors who've lived here their whole lives, they've worked their whole lives, and now they should be just living in peace, enjoying, the winter of their lives, and helping them, I think, would be something that would help us all, in the long run. So I'm just hoping that we can find a way to do that somehow at this point. And if not today, then when?
So,
Thank you.
Councilor,
Councilor Vaughn, were you addressing that to TJ?
sorry.
I was addressing it to, I actually am addressing to the entire city council. I know that, TJ, you all are making these decisions, but I think that the city council has a responsibility to, advocate for our residents, especially our seniors. I know I just heard something very disturbing in the finance committee meeting regarding, the seniors' ability to work off some of their taxes. The program is supposed to be in place, and I know that, Councilor Ramos, when he was on the council, now State Rep Ramos, worked on that for a long time, and it was passed, and now it's not working. It's not being used. And I don't understand why, when we have our seniors who are, in need. This couple that I met, I went to their house after they sent me a letter, and they showed me their tax bills and their abatement, and they got denied. They're still driving. So right now, the price of gas is almost $5 a gallon. Food is up. I think Councilor Davila mentioned that a gallon of milk is $5. Everything is going up except their income. And I don't know if they qualify for that 42C, I think it's called, 41C, rather. So, I'm going to continue advocating for the residents of this city. This is the city of homes. We don't want our seniors to lose their homes because they can't afford to pay their property taxes. So that's just my question. Mr. President, I don't know who I'm addressing this to. I want the whole council to be aware of this. And of course, TJ and your team, if you guys can do anything at all, I think it would be just beneficial to the entire city. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Vaughn. Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you. Mr. President, thank you, Councilor Govan. Since you're addressing the entire council, I am compelled to speak to this because I've been speaking about property taxes and either reducing them or keeping them level because they have been increasing year over year. And I hear the same complaints. I even hear it with my own parents. I know folks don't like us to make things personal, but it's personal. We're all homeowners, and we all have property taxes, and we all have aging people in our families and our friends. And it's just really sad. They can barely afford the cost of living as it is. And now we got $5 gas, $5 milk, and they're already on a fixed income. And so I wrote a statement, press release already, that with the property tax increase in the FY23 budget, I will not approve this budget. And I don't know what the rest of the councilors plan on doing, but I'm going on the record saying it's a no vote for me because 17 million is still an increase, and we keep fighting for this. We keep fighting for it, and we still get the short end of the stick. But, and I'm going to say it, 1331 Elm Street, developers got 6.5 million of the same free cash. And with the statement that Lindsay just sent us, it doesn't seem like if we don't fund this 5 million to the free cash account, we'll still be in the 5% range that we need to be in with the stabilization fund. So the 5 million isn't really needed to meet that 5% number that we need to be at. And so I think that, like you said, Councilor Govan, we need to do more for our homeowners, for our residents. A lot of the funds come from them, but instead of taking care of them, we're taking care of rich developers with free cash. And I just don't agree with that. I don't think it's right. And I'm gonna vote no on all these free cash transfers unless we do something more with property tax.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Are there any further questions on this item? Councilor Hurst?
Yeah, I'll just or actually short of reiterating what Councilor Whitfield said, what resonated most with me about what she said that she was going to do, that the city council can do, is vote no against the budget if you don't like the way in which, the city has not, in our estimation, in my estimation, given enough towards reducing the burden on taxpayers. And, for me, it's just that simple. And so it's easy for us to talk about what it is that we want the city to do, but as a council, we can only do so much. And so to your point, Councilor Govan, you can vote no when it comes time to approve the budget if you don't like the way in which this money is being distributed.
Thank you, Councilor Hurst. Councilor Govan?
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you for that. It just came into my mind that everybody's talking about we're going into a recession, right? We're going into a recession. That means that we're going to be tight and we're going to be, needing. And that's not just the city, that's the residents, like Councilor Whitfield said, we all have family members. I keep thinking about this 80-year-old couple who is just struggling to live, you know what I mean? And I feel very strongly about this. And when I see all this free cash being thrown around and transferred every which way except for our residents, it really bothers me. So I agree with you, Councilor Hurst and Councilor Whitfield. I guess if that's what needs to happen in order for us to be able to do something, I hope that, the councilors will get on board and help us out with this. And remember that, we're here serving the residents of the city. This free cash came from taxes. They came from that 80-year-old couple, paid into this free cash property taxes. And I feel that we owe it to them. If we have this money to be able to help them out, at least this year, when we're almost in a recession, inflation is up the roof, and it's getting worse. So I just want to, urge all of us to make the right decision. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Perez, followed by Councilor Whitfield.
So as the newly city councilwoman, I will have to ask this question from the finance perspective. If this has been discussed in the finance committee, could we have a discussion of this issue in the finance committee for future reference? I think it concerns me as well. So we could set it aside as an issue that is concerning all of us. And I'm just looking for the directions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. Could you clarify, were you directing a question to somebody?
Yeah, well, I'm just asking for getting educated myself. If this is an issue that concerns all of us, how could we address this either to the economic development, to the finance committee, if we could get some resolution of the matter? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council Perez, I'll be glad to have a finance committee meeting to discuss free cash further. If you need that, I certainly am happy to do that. We would have to send these items to committee. Is that correct, Councilor Letterman?
That is correct.
Okay. And so I just wanted to say, I'm sorry.
On your point of information relative to the procedure, you could send them to committee. You could also call a meeting at any time, but your prerogative.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So I just wanted to say that when we set the tax rate settings and we have to decide whose tax rate is going to increase, we always get an answer that we already approved this in the budget. So it's nothing we can really do right now. The time to make the decision is during budget season. So it's budget season, guys, and we're not here to approve revenue. I know that TJ has said that before, but it is our responsibility to review the whole budget. And when we review the whole budget, revenue is in the budget. We do approve the expenditures, but the revenue has to come from somewhere. And so when the expenditures are increasing, revenue does have to come from somewhere. But if we have the funding to give some type of relief, more than 3.5 million, that is just going to still leave an increase of about 17 million in property tax revenue that we have to gain. We need to look at it right now. It's budget season. That's the reason I asked for the full budget and not just the simplified version, because I wanted you guys to see how much the property tax increase was going to be, because when we get to tax rate setting time, there's nothing that we can do at that point but set a tax rate that's going to bring in that revenue that we already approved in the budget. And so now is the time to make the decision for our residents or not. We can't wait till October, November to make that decision, because we're going to be spinning our wheels and in the same situation that we've been in year over year. And so I just wanted to clarify that point, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. I'm going to go to Councilor Allen. I do see that City Hall has their hand up. In order to recognize City Hall, I can't recognize you unless you're recognized by Councilor. Councilor Allen.
I would be happy to recognize City Hall.
TJ.
Thank you, Mr. President. So a couple of things. I want to, well, first of all, happy to have further conversations about free cash. Maybe not this pot that's happening right now that I'd like to move by June 30th, but we're certifying at minimum 40 million in free cash from the Eversource payment. Added to that, 2 million more. I mean, there's going to be a lot of free cash that we can talk about doing all this stuff as we get closer to setting the tax rate. And that's something that I'd be happy to have a lot of meetings on. But specifically, we heard the city council last budget and setting the tax rate that we wanted to look at property tax relief. And I tasked the Board of Assessors, and I believe Patrick is online here for the 41C and 41. We're doing everything we can do statutorily for the seniors. We consulted with Mass Department of Revenue. They looked at the language, they helped us draft the language to something that we can do to dedicate the revenue from MGM. Those are things we can do, and we're going to do home rule legislation. We're going to do all the things that we can control. We've got $3.5 million in this year's budget to further reduce the tax rate, and that's what we've had the conversation on. And I would have a tough time sitting here arguing to not use some additional free cash and setting the tax rate in November if we certify 45-50 million in free cash. I mean, I think that's kind of the conversation where I think we should be taking the conversation. But we're doing as much as we can, absent just I'd like to move this money just because it's there, and I don't want to get part of the free cash process next year. But I'd like to talk about this when we certify 50 million free cash next year or more next year.
Thank you, TJ. Councilor Allen.
Thanks, Mr. President. So I know we of the 27 million of free cash, I could be wrong, but I believe 6 or 6.5 million was set aside for tax relief. And I just want to clarify that. Is that true, TJ? And should everybody be?
Yes. So we've done 6 million, 2.5 million for FY22 and 3.5 million for FY23.
So 6 million, okay. And if we're going to have a conversation about it, which is probably maybe a good thing to do, what is the target? What are we aiming for? Like when you set up the 6 million, what were you aiming for? And if we were trying to give more tax relief to people, what's our target? Is it level taxes with last year, or is it a certain?
That's all the questions I'd like to have the discussions on is what's the end goal and how does that look? Because right now we wanted to target to be able to target the 80-year-old couple that might have a little extra need, and DORs as we could. So the only way to do it is to do it across the board. So the 3.5 million for FY23 helps everybody. And then we have the 41C exemption where we lowered the age to 65 and doubled the amount to 1,000. So we took care of that. And then we're going for a home rule petition. So it's not just age-based, it's income-based for those who need it the most. And that is the best we can do as a city legislatively and legally for that stuff. And having the conversation, I think, is a healthy one is, what is the end goal for the FY23 tax bill? And that's the conversation that it's, I can't make that number decision in a vacuum. I'll need the Board of Assessors. I need some, other, and then what does it look like? And what's the fiscal reality of what that looks like? Maybe it's, well, we want to hold the taxes level, but that is not something that's sustainable or financially feasible. So maybe you have, I don't know the answer to those, but those are all things I think we should have hearings and meetings and discussions on.
Could I just ask another question, Mr. President?
Yes.
Thank you. So could you just give us the frame, the outside time frame for moving this money if we decide to do the free cash orders that you have on the agenda tonight or another night? What's the deadline on those things?
Deadline to, in order so it doesn't be getting involved, have to wait till next year's free cash. The deadline's June 30th.
So 2 weeks from now. So we have to do something with the money that's there.
Correct.
You proposed 3 moves tonight. They add up to about $10 million or something. We have to do something in the next 2 weeks, or what happens? That just slides into next year's free cash.
If next year's 50 million in free cash, it's going to be 60 million, and they won't have access to it until we certify fiscal 22's free cash.
Okay. Anybody else? I'm just trying to get some questions of clarity out there. Well, Mr. President, are you looking for a motion? Are you looking for other more questions, or?
There's more hands in the queue, Councilor Allen, so we can continue with the debate if that concludes your questions.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That concludes mine for the moment. Thank you.
We'll go to the councilors that have not yet spoken first. So we'll go to Councilor Brown, followed by Councilor Davila, and then we'll come back, Councilor Whitfield and Councilor Gavon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, we all know that there definitely needs to be adjustments as far as the tax rate. As my colleagues have all stated, and we know we can do better. I'm just wondering, is there a way? And I know, what you do as far as the forecasting, looking over everything. I know, even with me, I know how to maneuver certain funding here and certain funding there. It's about still making that commitment. Can you go on record right now saying that you will be committed to make an increase? I mean, is that something, instead of talking, are you going to say that you're really going to do it? And how much would it be? I mean, can we guess? Can we get 10 million more? Can we get 20 million more? I mean, I don't think it's that difficult to even figure out a baseline commitment. Is there a way you can give us some type of number commitment? Can you put 20 million toward it?
Well, I don't know what that number would look like, so I don't have the ability or authority to commit a number. But I think we need to have the conversation of what we're trying to figure out and bring in the full Board of Assessors to have us figure out what that looks like and what makes sense. And commit to that, and I can commit to that through the Finance Committee holding a series of meetings over the course of the next couple of months, and making sure that we're have a working group, if you will, to really figure out what that is. I don't know if it's 5 million, I don't know if it's 2 million, I don't know if it's 10 million. And then I got to look at sustainability across multiple fiscal years, and as we head into a recession for city services as well. I mean, right now, inflation is through the roof. Market is just turning into a bear market today for the stock market. So there's a lot of factors that I would like to have this discussion and this working group to figure out what do we want it to look like.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate that. It seems like there are still 2 entities as far as what you guys are meeting and then what the council is meeting. Me personally, I would feel comfortable at least working with Councilor Whitfield and then flexibility on both of our parts, maybe we can get to a number. But for some reason, it seems like you guys' number is different from ours. So I would just, just at least want to see if we can work together on that number, because it just seems like you guys are lower than what and I don't know, I haven't looked at, maneuvered on all that, but I do know Councilor Whitfield looks at that stuff. So, and she keeps us abreast on a lot of that information. But I would want to see if we can collaborate and at least have a commitment on some type of tax relief, and just a commitment and working together and at least meeting halfway at least. But as far as the city itself doing it, I believe we have to now use each other. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. TJ, good afternoon. Sorry, since we are caught between a rock and a hard place here, I will admit to that. But Mr. President, just for clarity purposes, are we talking just Order 19, or are we talking about all the orders?
Right now, we are just on Order 19, Councilor Davila.
That's right. Okay. So TJ, is this transfer from the free cash onto the reserve funds, is that to keep that 5 to 15% that's usually recommended?
Well, part of it's that. My goal was to get up to 50 million or above 50 million to get back there. And this was a way to take 5.8 of the $27 million, put it into stabilization reserve. So that's been the ultimate goal. I'd like to get to 55 million or 60 million just as we head into a recession to be able to weather the storm, if you will.
Right. Now, TJ, I don't have the budget in front of me, but how much is the mayor proposing for property relief, or property tax relief?
We're doing 3.5 million for fiscal 23 so far. We're reducing the age for the 41C exemption and doubling the benefit, and then filing home rule legislation with the support of the council to have that not be age restricted.
Right. Now, is that 3.5 for fiscal year 23 plus what was committed for year 22 or not?
No, 22's already been committed and addressed on this year's tax bill. 23, 3.5 million it's the 2.5 commitment from when we did it in November, plus an extra $1 million for added on top of that for tomorrow night's budget vote.
Okay, so the commitment is $3.5 million.
Yeah, so 3.5 million to reduce the tax rate for every taxpayer, commercial.
Yeah. Would you like to look at the crystal ball and tell me how much that's going to translate into a bill decrease?
We don't know yet, so we're not even going to know what that's why the conversation happening over the summer. The Board of Assessors will have a little more time to see what the values are doing, to get a sense of where they're going and what neighborhoods are going up, and kind of trying to address it that way. So that's kind of the tough part about our budget process. It's a bifurcated process where expenditure budget now, and then we set the revenue in November, and there's a lot of information to be gleaned from July through November that can really contribute to the debate.
Right. TJ, honestly, I'm conflicted here. I see where you're going with this, but I also understand. I would love to see more relief to people. I think all of us, including you, of course. And I think there's some good plans in the budget in and of itself. I will look back. Thank you, TJ, for your candid answers, and thank you, Mr. President. I will look back with my questions.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Whitfield, followed by Councilor Govan.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Davila, for clarifying that 2.5 million has already been used to help to relieve taxpayers in FY22, which really didn't happen because the complaints are still coming in. The bill still increased. It was a help. We would have had to pay 2.5 million more, but at the end of the day, the calls are still coming in about property tax increasing in FY22. The same thing is going to happen in FY23, but we always get to November. And we ask the questions, what can we do? And the answer is, you need to make decisions during budget season. So in essence, we only have 3.5 million going forward. to reduce property tax, but it still leaves about 17 million, almost 17 million that has to be raised through property tax. And then we're going to get to November again, and we're going to have to meet that number, and we're going to have to figure out why. And in the paper, it comes, the city council set the tax rate, which we set the tax factor, but it says we set the tax rate. And so then the costs start coming into us again. Now is the time to do something. TJ, I just wanted to ask you, what month or when is free cash usually certified?
Usually October, late October, early November, if we ask them to do it quickly for us.
Late October, early November. So by then we still have enough time to reduce property tax bills, correct?
Correct. That was
Okay.
my original comment about let's work through what it should look like strategically and make sure we're doing it with a well thought out plan in mind.
No, and I only bring that up because if this money moves over to next year's certified free cash, we still have time. We still have time to affect the tax bill. So I mean, it's neither here nor there to me. It may be to the finance team and others, but it's neither here nor there to me if this free cash is counted in next year's allotment or not. What I'm concerned about is right now, like why haven't right now with the free cash that we've had, haven't we done more to reduce the property tax bills going forward for FY23? I would love to sit with you and figure out what that number is and figure out what it will look like. But we have free cash right now that we could work with, that we could say to our residents right now that we've done all that we can with this free cash to make sure that you are getting relief. Because it's not just seniors, it's low income families, it's folks with disabilities that are also struggling. And I know that there are resources out there for them, but imagine the families that's just over that income cap. Now that happens to be my parents. And so when they apply for the senior discount, it's not an age thing because they're in their 70s, but when they apply for that, they don't make it because together their income is a lot. And they helped me raise 4 kids. So imagine that with gas prices and milk prices and food prices and everything else going up. It's really unbearable for a lot of the residents of the city of Springfield. And we need to realize that. And so giving $6 million in free cash to reduce the tax burden was great. I commend you on that. I appreciate it. It's not enough. We need to do more. And I think that as the finance committee, you knew this was going to come up and you knew that a lot of us were going to have questions about it and we were going to, pressure you a little bit to do more for the residents of the taxpayers. And I think that that should have been considered more when you gave an additional $1 million and you could have gave an additional $4 million. I'm just saying, I think that I would have been more willing with an additional $4 million than an additional $1 million added to the to reduce the tax bill, because that's really doesn't make a huge dent when you still got to come up with $17 million. But I would love to have those meetings on that 40 million, 50 million, whatever you said that free cash is, the series of them, so we can get to a point where we agree for the constituents of the city of Springfield.
So the council, the thing that we really want to have as part of the public debate on the tax issue is, we can reduce taxes, this year, fiscal 23, and at some point when we don't have the ability to do that anymore, I just don't want the taxpayers to see a $400 increase in their bill because we're holding them down. So that's all part of this conversation that we need to have is, okay, if we put 3 million more on to reduce taxes, at some point when the money's not available to continue to reduce taxes and the values are up, there's going to be a shift and it's going to come back. And I would like Patrick and the board to speak to the council about those effects and those impacts that, as much as we can do now, and then all of a sudden, if, we don't have the reserves and we don't have the revenue to do it, just being able to figure out, how to avoid a massive increase down the road. That's all.
No, I understand that fact too, but we have to have an even balance. It has to be a fair balance. And right now it doesn't seem like it's been a fair balance to the property tax owners. It hasn't been balanced. And all I'm looking for is that balance. I'm not looking to not put anything into the stabilization fund. I'm probably just not looking to put the 5 million into the stabilization fund. You know what I mean? So I'm just looking more for a balance for the taxpayers, TJ. I understand recession, layoffs, all that. I understand it. I lived it. I know it's coming.
At all. I want to find that balance too. I just can't sit here today and tell you what that balance looks like, that I'm gonna need more time. Just
And
like
we should have probably had this conversation ahead of time too. Sometime during budget season, we should have brought in a session where we talked about property tax.
I'm only
So-
one department that tries it. Like we did all, in my mind, I thought this was a good budget with property taxes. We're doing everything we statutorily can, and we're trying to get a special home rule legislation, and we're trying to do more. So
Not everything that you can, because you could have gave more free cash to reduce the property tax liability. So not everything that you can, but you did a lot, TJ. You did a lot. I'm gonna give you your props. I'm gonna give you your credit. Your credit is due.
I don't make the final decisions on everything myself either. So it's
Right. So this message is not just for you, but also for the mayor. Thank you, TJ. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Whitfield. Go ahead, TJ. Go ahead.
No, I'll deliver the message to the mayor tomorrow.
Okay. Councilor Govan, followed by Councilor Dell.
Thank you so much. So I'm hearing a lot about, what we can do and what the property tax payers are getting, and maybe, say we reduce it this year for, they don't have to pay a quarter of their taxes. If we do that one time, they know, right? That quarter, they're not gonna pay taxes. They know they're gonna have to pay the next quarter's taxes. And
that piece.
That's just a suggestion. I'm just, TJ, you're the award-winning financier of the world. So I commend you on what you do and your whole team. I know it's hard work running a city, right? But the city is made up of residents. And if the residents weren't here, we wouldn't have a city. So I'd love, and I know we're not going to solve this tonight, but I'd love for us to, think about it in the future. The 41C that we're going to be talking about later on this evening, only 240 residents were able to take advantage of that. There's something wrong with that. You know what I mean? Only 240 out of our 56,000 residents, I think 156,000. We have to do better. I'm thinking of the trash fee, right? Get rid of the trash fee. Our taxes are as high that we should cover our trash disposal with the property taxes that we pay. We pay a lot in property taxes. So just different thoughts, the $6 million that you gave, like Councilor Whitfield said, nobody in their tax bills saw it. You know what I mean? They did not see it because their tax bill still went up. So in their eyes, they're getting nothing. They're not getting anything, and then they're seeing all this free cash being thrown around and here and there, and they're just not getting anything. So I'd really love to be a part of those conversations. I keep going back to my little 80-year-old couple who, they need help, and they're not the only ones. Like Councilor Whitfield, Councilor Hurst said, they're not the only ones. Everybody needs help in the city, and we're going into a recession. And that means not just the city is going into recession, our residents are going into recession as well. So we need to be very mindful, I think, going forward of how we move. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank your team for all you do.
Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. TJ, refresh my memory. I believe our current bond rating is AA minus.
AA minus.
AA minus. Okay, so look again, TJ, I'll be honest with you. I'm not looking for at all December to set the tax factor. I'm concerned that people might come after us with goals, because the reality of life is that, if I'm not mistaken, the home values have gone up roughly between 25 and 30%, and my goodness, petrified once set the tax factor, what that's going to look like to all of us, and all this stuff, we know that. So I see your point. I got to keep the 5 to 15%. Again, I see what you're doing with this. I think it's a smart thing, by the way. I'm not saying that I don't disagree with you, but I'm also torn what my colleague was saying. How do we try to give some sort of relief? And I know 3.5 is an increase of 1 million from last year. It's a step in the good direction. So this is what I would like to put in your ear, TJ. So you're looking to transfer 5.8 from the free cash to stabilization. Why don't we split the difference? Put 2.9 and put the other 2.9 towards added towards the 3.5 for tax relief. Something I want to put you in your ear to think about. You know, I know you don't make all the final decisions. I know you have to speak to the man in charge, and that's the mayor. And I get that. So, you know, I'm not going to put you on the spot for a comment right now because I may have to think about this, TJ. I'm trying to be sensible. With that, I think we don't have any pressure into transfer money right away, right? We got time.
The only pressure is the June 30th deadline if we wanted. I mean, June 30th means a lot to me, having it be appropriated, but to Council Whitfield's point, it'll be there next year after.
Why does it mean to you, TJ? Can you tell me why? Why does it mean to you for June 30th?
Just so I have it in the reserve, in the stabilization reserve account for June 30th. So when we hit July 1st, we have 50 million. That is a big talking point on Wall Street and our bond rating agencies. And that those are just so much for industry and for that. I mean, absent that, I mean, it doesn't. If the council chose not to take action on it and it flows in excess free cash, then so be it.
Right, you know, TJ, I'm very torn on this particular order. I'm very torn. But you know what? I always like to default to the wise people, the residents that you and I serve. So I am confident that, well, Mr. President, I do believe that we need more conversation on this. So I'm sure that if we send it back to the Finance Committee for more discussion, I am confident that we can achieve TJ's timeline to make a decision by the 30th. But if you don't mind, I would like to hear the chairman of that committee before making a motion. Sir.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. We'll go now to Councilor Perez.
Yes, like I said earlier, I know this has been an issue, not this year, not the year before, but it's been a prolonged issue. And like I said earlier, I think that going back to the Finance Committee in assessing this issue, we could look not only for this year projections, what the expectation of what's going to happen if we go with A, B, or C. I think that's why I am so that I want to see it, and I respectively requesting the Economic Development and the Finance Committee to meet and see if we could put this in the agenda, that we could come up and have our constituents be clarified of what is it that is happening. Some of my constituents know that the increase is going up, but not the whys of it. So I think this is very important for our community to understand. And again, like I reiterate early, we need to sit down and set this issue aside of everything else and see how we're gonna be able to be a workable issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Allen. Councilor Allen, you are muted.
What I said is, sorry, I was muted. What I said is that I'm not sure I have anything else to say at this time. I think I just forgot to lower my hand.
Okay. Councilor Govan.
I make a motion that we move this to a Finance Committee meeting.
Second.
Made by Councilor Govan to refer item 19 to the Finance Committee, seconded by Councilor Davila. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilor Perez, followed by Councilor Curran.
And for purpose of how I'm gonna do this, could I respectfully request there be a combination Economic Development and the Finance Committee for purpose of a study, feasible study?
It's a financial matter though, so I don't know how it would fit in the Economic Development Committee, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Yeah, my thinking would be that the matter would be appropriately referred to the Finance Committee, but it's the will of the body.
Okay, and in my statement, I base my statement, Mr. President, because this is an economic impact to our community. So we could discuss numbers, but I will also want to see the impact if we are to lower the taxes this year, and what happens, what's the economic impact in the community if it has to be raised next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. The motion on the table is to refer to the Finance Committee. On the motion, Councilor Curran.
Yes, just a quick question to TJ. If we do refer this to committee, will you still be able to accommodate your June 30th deadline there?
So I think, Council, if we call a special meeting before June 30th, we can accomplish what we need to accomplish. I presume I don't know. I don't want to speak for the group. I don't know. Are they all three going to committee?
Yes.
Councilor Govan, please clarify your motion.
I would like the three of them to go to committee, and I was going to stipulate if we could have a special meeting before the June 30th deadline. I would like to make sure that, you know, if that needs to happen by June 30th, if we could have a meeting before then, possibly this week or next week, so that we can have this conversation. And of course, that's up to the Finance Committee Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Edwards.
The Councilor Perez is concerned about having a joint meeting and sending it to Planning and Act. I just want to point out it's not necessary for it to go to Planning and Act. All councilors are encouraged and should attend any committee meeting. You don't have to be a voting member of the committee to attend. And if you are present at any meeting historically, the chair of each committee will recognize all councilors to answer questions or offer comment. The only thing would be if there's a recommendation coming out of that committee, whether or not only the voting members would make that recommendation. But it going to the Finance Committee, any questions regarding planning and economic development or any other impact from any other business of the city, it would be appropriate for any counselor in attendance to have their questions and comments appropriately answered. So there really is no need. The appropriate place for this issue, if it passes to be sent to committee, is to go to the Finance Committee chaired by Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Councilor Edwards. Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a point of clarification. My understanding, and maybe Councilor can clarify, we are sending to committee just item 19. That's the intent of the.
Councilor Govan, please clarify your motion.
No, I think that I wanted to see if we could send the, I guess, 19, 20, and 21 to committee.
So moved. Yeah, right.
The motion's been made and seconded. We are this is discussion on the motion.
Right. Yes, sir. TJ, that item 21, the free cash to pension stabilization, is that to keep our obligation with the pension with the pensions?
No, that actually was just to start building up a reserve to address a future year, start building up reserves for the pension. So if there are years that get a little harder to fund the full appropriation, we have a source of revenue to tap into.
I see. Okay, I see. Mr. President, of course I said that and I support it, and that's exactly what I was thinking. But I would like to reemphasize, I think TJ has a very good point. We should do everything within our powers to ensure that this gets disposed before June 30th. And even like he suggested, calling a special meeting, because it can only help us to continue to improve on the so critical here in this. So TJ, I'm gonna put in your ear again, 2.9 million, split the difference, 5.8, split it, 2.9. I think it's a good compromise. And thank you, TJ, and to Little Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. I don't see any further. Counselor Walsh has made a motion to move the question. Is there any? We'll call a roll then to move the question. Madam Clerk, please call the roll to move the question. 2/3 majority vote is required to move the question. Madam Clerk.
On moving the question, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran. Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, votes are sufficient and the question is moved. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the motion to refer items 19, 20, and 21 to the Finance Committee.
On referring the items to Finance Committee, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, votes are sufficient and the matter is referred to the Finance Committee. Madam Clerk, please call item 22.
Item 22 is a budget transfer within a department finance to multi-year pay-go fund in the amount of $405,584.
Thank you, Mr.
Deputy
President.
Capo.
With the packet, Deputy Capo, 80 Tamarack Drive in Springfield. So this is an annual cleanup item that we often bring in front of the council. This is to move funding for ongoing FY22 pay-go projects over to FY23 accounts, so they are available for the project to continue with the funding in FY23.
Thank you, Deputy Capo. Are there any questions on this item? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll to authorize the order.
On authorizing the order, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient. The order is authorized. Madam, is there a motion to suspend Rule 19? One vote.
Excuse me. So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Counselor Davila, seconded by Counselor Whitfield to suspend Rule 19. Madam Clerk, on the motion to suspend Rule 19.
On suspending Rule 19, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh. Counselor Walsh. Away, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient and Rule 19 is suspended. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
Next item is FY23 budget retained earnings.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The Finance Department has informed me this item was placed on the agenda in error, and their request is to table the item. Is there a motion to table?
So moved.
So moved.
Motion made by Counselor Govan, seconded by Counselor Allen. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll to table item 23.
On tabling the item, Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh? Away, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman?
Yes, votes are sufficient. The matter is tabled. Madam Clerk, please call item 24.
Item 24 is an order adjusting 41C.
Is there anybody here to speak to this matter? Chairman Greenhall.
Yes, good evening. My name is Patrick Greenhall, Chair of the Board of Assessors, and this is an order that would accept changes in Massachusetts General Law, which is Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 41C. This is an exemption that people can earn based on certain criteria, including age and income. It is just as is in the statute, it's a $500 exemption. This order would adjust that to $1,000. And in the statute, it also requires an age of 70 or greater. And this is an opportunity for us to change that to 65. I see Councilor Fenton has his hand up, so I'll certainly defer to him.
Councilor Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. President and Mr. Chairman. The General Government Committee met earlier this evening and made a unanimous recommendation in favor of this proposal and the next one on our agenda item number 25. So I was remiss in committee reports and not making that report and would like to report that to the full board. I'd also like to say at the appropriate time, Mr. Chair, Mr. President, after we've disposed of this item, I intend to make a motion that we take item number 28 out of order. That's an item that Councilor Walsh has sponsored, and I understand she may have some other commitments tonight to attend to that may preclude her from finishing the meeting, and I should have made that motion at an earlier time, but missed the committee report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fenton. Are there any further questions or comments on item 24? Seeing none. Without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll authorizing the order.
On item 24, Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman?
Yes, the votes are sufficient and the order is authorized. Councilor Fenton.
I make a motion that we take item number 28, Mr. President. Without objection.
Without objection, we'll take item 28. Madam Clerk, please call item 28.
Item 28 is an ordinance to require 30 days notice of projects seeking appropriation over $1 million from free cash or the stabilization fund.
Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. And as Councilor Fenton alluded to, we did discuss this in the General Government Committee, and he made some valuable suggestions to strengthen the ordinance. I don't know, Councilor Fenton, I did have to take care of an issue. If you mentioned what those changes were when I was just doing something else.
Councilor Fenton.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. No, I did not, but happy to. I circulated the changes to the clerk. They were voted on and unanimously approved by the committee. And there was one additional change proposed by Councilor Whitfield, which I incorporated into the draft and just circulated, Madam Clerk, to you. So thank you, Councilor Whitfield, for that suggestion. correction. I would at this time, Madam Clerk, make a motion that we amend the ordinance consistent with the red line that I emailed around to everybody at 7:45. And after that, would hope we can take second and third step on this matter.
Thank you, Councilor Fenton. Councilor Fenton's made a motion that the ordinance be amended consistent with the amendments adopted in the General Government Committee and circulated to the clerk. Is there a second?
Second.
Second was made by Councilor Govan. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the amendment.
On the amendment, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the amendment is adopted. Councilor Walsh.
Yes, I'd just like to say that I think the ordinance itself is going to make it a lot easier and more respectful in how we do city business. And I think that it's very timely as we're talking about so many different financial issues and transfers and projects that are coming before us, that we have enough notice and that each council member feels that any suggestions that they want to bring forward have been vetted. Unfortunately, in the past, and it hasn't just been the Court Square project. Unfortunately, in the past, a lot of financial issues on major projects come before us, and we don't have appropriate time, or we're told that we have to vote for it immediately. And I think this will go a long way for making us real partners in the development of the city. And I appreciate the support of my colleagues and the suggestions that were made to strengthen the ordinance.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you. I just wanted to, Mr. President, go on the record and thank Councilor Walsh once again for acting so swiftly after the Elm Street. You're right, that hasn't been the first time, but hopefully this will build the partnership. I also want to thank Councilor Fenton for his legal eyes and strengthening the ordinance. I think it reads great with those updates. So I just want to thank you too for all the hard work and the due diligence. It's needed and it's welcome. And so Councilor Walsh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Any further comments or questions on item 28?
Wait, am I added? Did I actually be added? I want to be added.
You are.
As a co-sponsor. Okay.
Any further questions or comments on item 28? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, this is on for second and third step. Please call the roll on adoption of the ordinance.
On adoption of the ordinance, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient. The ordinance is enacted. Is there a motion to invoke Rule 22C to allow second and third steps to be taken together?
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Whitfield, seconded by Councilor Walsh. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none. Without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the motion to enact Rule 22C.
On enacting 22C, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the motion passes and the ordinance is enacted. Madam Clerk, please call item 25.
Item 25 is an order adjusting 41D.
Chairman Greenhall.
Hi there. Yes, this would be an order basically allowing us to adjust the amount of income that a person can earn per year under the 41C program. And this would be a cumulative effect, ideally starting for fiscal 23 with a supportive vote tonight.
Thank you, Chairman Greenhall. Are there any further questions on item 25 for the chairman? Councilor Govan, followed by Councilor Brown.
I know this is, thank you, Mr. President. Patrick, I know that this is probably not possible now, but I'm wondering if, I know that the income has been raised, which is a good thing, but I still would love to see it raised a little bit more for those people who have worked their entire lives and are getting a pension, they're retired, and their income is not going to go up. And of course, we know property taxes will. So I don't know if that's possible today or maybe in the future. Thank you. And thank you, Patrick, for all your hard work.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
These
President.
are the statutory thresholds that we can implement at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. This was something that I've worked on for maybe over 6 years. And it's studies concerning what they call the cliff effect. And what happens is that a lot of people, when they start calculating who can actually get services from these different entities, we've just found that it is severely too low and all across the board. 60 grand, 70 grand, depending on the household structure and different things. It just doesn't get enough done. So I commend you on working on it. And just like my colleague said, Councilor Govan, it is a battling issue where it's just too low. I mean, we got to raise some of these things up, as allowing some of the elderly and just some of our constituents to take advantage of some of these things, because I got a bunch of kids, and just imagine childcare alone with some of the daycare, it's almost a mortgage. So I do commend you in your actual work. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Are there any further questions or comments on item 25? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll to authorize the order.
On authorizing the order, Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yeah.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient and the order is authorized. Madam Clerk, please call item 26.
Item 26 is for a special permit for a mixed-use building at the property known as 443 State Street.
Turn this way back. Thank you, Madam Clerk. This is a special permit hearing that was continued from our last meeting. The hearing was left open. Madam Clerk, since our last hearing, have we received any testimony in favor of this permit?
We have not.
And Madam Clerk, have we received any testimony in opposition to this permit?
We have not.
At this time, the petitioner is present. Mr. Mitchell, do you wish to offer further testimony in favor of your project?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. President. I sent out just some general information to try to answer or dissolve some of the questions that came up at the last meeting. So I'm hoping that council's had a chance to review that.
because I think that would put a lot of questions to rest. But additionally, on this call, I have some of the MHA leadership that can speak directly to some of the questions that arose at the last meeting. And so I believe, well, not I believe, I know Kim Lee, one of the VPs, is on, and I believe another VP, Sarah, may be on the call. So I think at this point, Council, I'd like to just open it up for questions, because that's really what this hearing was for, this continuance, and then really have those questions, have my MHA folks just kind of answer those questions that are specifically related to, the tenancy and the composition of the my tenant as one of the anchor tenants, or the anchor tenant being MHA.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you.
Is there any further testimony in favor that your team would like to present before we move to questions from the counselors? Seeing none, just remind counselors the hearing is still open. So the testimony is being accepted, and we'll go first to Counselor Brown, followed by Counselor Govan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm familiar with MHA. You guys do excellent work. I want to commend Donald for investing in the community. Were you able to talk to any neighborhood councils?
No, I wasn't. I did reach out to Barbara Gresham, didn't hear back from her. And I just emailed her because I couldn't reach the council in their office. So I just sent her an email and said, hey, I understand there may be some questions you have because you're an abutting neighbor, and I'm happy to answer those questions. And so, no, so we didn't get a chance to talk. So that was the only neighborhood that the only additional neighborhood I reached out to, because they are a direct abutter of City Councilor Melvin Edwards' neighborhood council.
Yes, I'm familiar with that trends. I'm familiar with that email. School committee member Gresham did notify me that you had emailed her maybe a few hours ago, within the afternoon or something, or in the mornings or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I was hoping for a little bit more, just based on the fact that you said you weren't able to meet with any neighborhood councils, just for the constituents' sake. When someone says that they're not able to have a quorum, for everyone listening, that just means that there wasn't enough people there from the community, like a handful it takes to have a quorum. So even in Councilor Edwards' neighborhood council, you said that they weren't able to actually meet. Were you able to meet with any of the people? Were you able to re-meet where you could actually have a quorum?
No. So again, we reached out to Maple High Six Corners. They didn't have a quorum, but they were aware of the project. They had a project, or a brief project description like we sent to all the other city councilors, and they supported it. They gave us a letter of support.
What I mean, I don't mean to cut you off. When
Sure.
You say that, like, it's that statement, it doesn't fit in itself. Like if I say that means, when you say they did not have a quorum, that means that it wasn't more than 2 or 3 people. So you didn't meet with their neighborhood council. You did not meet with
No, we did
what
not. We did not. We just notified that neighborhood council. They shared that with their members, and they then gave us a letter of support for our project.
Okay. And I believe that I believe that I believe that you're from what I research, I believe that you're a stand-up and person. I really do. I'm excited that you're looking forward to invest in our area. I believe MHA is a great institution, organization. They do great work, especially with a lot of the different issues that we all suffer with day to day, even myself. Where I have a little hiccup is the actual location being right next to a high school. I was at an event where they were speaking of how to make high schools secure and different things that happen that were just very, very tragic when it comes to high schools. Now, that is my only hangup as far as the vicinity of the location. And that's probably why MHA is here now. I'm just curious. This isn't have nothing to do with you, Donald. This would probably be more MHA. I appreciate you guys coming here because a lot of times there's a stigma when it comes to mental health, and it's an unnecessary one. But we also know when it comes to our children, we do have to worry about keeping them safe. So I'm just curious, what type of housing facility is it going to be? Like how does it work in this particular place?
Yep, and I'll defer that over to the MHA folks that's on the call.
So to folks from MHA who will be testifying, if you could just state your name and address for the record and then submit your testimony relative to Councilor Brown's question.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christine Palmieri, and I am MHA's Vice President for Recovery and Housing Services. That puts me in charge of all our community-based programs that work with people who experience mental health issues, homelessness, and substance use services. I will be the person overseeing the staffing at 443 State Street. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the tenants we anticipate to live there and the services they're going to receive in this project. I can just say generally that we are intending to house people who are already living in Springfield, who have experienced homelessness at some point in their lives and are now housed in one or many neighborhoods across Springfield in buildings that are isolated, that make it difficult sometimes for us to provide outreach services to. Our hope in this project is to be able to create a community for these folks that they are invested in, where they can receive services from our experienced and trained and invested staff 7 days a week. I'm happy to answer any specific questions you might have about the people who we think are going to live there and about any safety concerns that you might have.
Christine, thank you, Christine. I'm Kim Lee. I'm the Vice President of Resource Development and Branding for MHA. And good evening, everybody. And thank you for the opportunity to introduce our services a little bit further to folks who may not be overly familiar with our work. As Christine had mentioned, permanent supported housing is going to be one element of this project. Approximately 25 units have been set aside for individuals to live independently in our community. The building will be staffed. There will be opportunity for the residents to build community. We've talked about outside areas, grills, common spaces inside the building where individuals can watch a movie, enjoy each other's companies, perhaps even cook a meal. We have the rest of the building, a large footprint in the building will be reserved for individuals who are participating in MHA's day program. Sarah Kaiser is our Vice President of our New Way division, who will be overseeing that day program component. And Sarah, maybe you can talk just a little bit about that population that will be utilizing the services in that building as well from MHA.
Absolutely. I'm Sarah Kaiser, Vice President of New Way Services. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. So the population that will be utilizing the space through the day program are survivors of acquired brain injury. So these are folks that were living in our community, members of our society, teachers, truckers, CNAs, who raised up their own families and had their own homes in the Springfield area. The piece of history that they all have in common is that they sustained some sort of life-changing event, typically a brain injury, almost always a stroke, but certainly car accidents, trauma, things of that nature. And so when folks work with us, we help them to rebuild their lives, to regain what they lost. And so we work through a number of different activities and programming to help support that. And we are already located in the Springfield area as well. However, we've grown, and we're looking forward to having a larger space to be able to help our community members to regain and rebuild their lives. We work with everything from occupational therapies and social time, as well as vocational retraining, and just the ability to rebuild some of their motor skills as well.
And thank you. Sounds like an excellent program. I can assure you that a lot of people, the first thing, the impression they get isn't that. I'm just being honest. That's why sometimes it's very important that everyone is transparent, especially when it's coming to aid. Now, how about the housing? How is that for the actual housing demographic? Who will be housed there? I know it'll be will it be the same brain injury recovery? Would that be the same type of population living?
It would be a combination, Malo. So there will be a smaller number of units that are being set aside through a very special initiative and project pilot with the Massachusetts Rehabilitation Commission. So individuals who are attending the day program, there will be 4 opportunities for individuals to actually reside on site in the building. So at the end of their programming, at the end of the day, they can quite literally return home because the programming will be taking place within the same building or construct, if you will, as their apartment will be. So this is an opportunity for individuals to experience independent living outside of a typical residential group home, which MHA provides services through. In fact, we have dozens of residential homes throughout the community. The other 25 units will be reserved for individuals who have experienced homelessness or who could potentially be homeless. And I think it's an important opportunity just to let folks know that MHA, to your point, Malo, MHA has been doing this work for a very, very long time. In fact, we, in collaboration with the city of Springfield, actually opened up the very first program for homeless women in the city called Annie's House. And that was a very successful program. It was the first of its kind, actually, in Massachusetts and actually beyond, and was actually a model for HUD for many, many years. Sadly, we lost funding for that program, but it really was the beginning of a long and successful opportunity to serve individuals in our community who are housing insecure. And just a few statistics to share with people in terms of the effectiveness and the success of our programs. Within 3 years of housing individuals, we have a 97% success rate. So that means 97% of the individuals we house stay housed for 3 years. At the end of 5 years, we have a 95% success rate. So that means that at the end of a 5-year period, 95% of the individuals we're working with in this division remain successfully housed. And, you know, Zaida and other counselors had talked earlier about the recession and people's, concern about income, and housing is a great, great need in our community. And when you have success rates, 97%, 95%, these are statistics that reduce the burden of emergency services. So EMS is lessened. Police response is lessened. There's less of a burden on our healthcare system. They're housed, they're successfully housed, and they're getting the programs and services that they need to really contribute productively and successfully in their community. Not just our community, but their community as well.
Thank you, Kim. I do commend you. I just have one last question. I know my colleagues have questions also.
Yes, sir.
I think a lot of times what the matter is that is there any issues where anyone would feel that it would be unsafe, that anyone unsafe would be housed there? I think that's kind of the only thing that a lot of people, they get nervous about. That stigma, that's it. Putting it right next to the high school. Do you think they would be a safety issue at all? Or have you, or that it doesn't, that wouldn't kind of occur based on your expertise? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Is it something we don't really have to worry about?
So I would like to say that no, you wouldn't have to worry, but I am also at my very old age. I'm not going to say how old I am, as this is an open forum meeting and there will be minutes, but at my very old age, I'm smart enough to know that situations can happen. Situations can happen in our residential programs. They can potentially happen in a housing and a homeless program. But we've been doing this work, Malo, for decades, going on 60 years. And I really think our excellent staff, our well-trained staff, the quality of care that we're providing, the intentional focus that we keep on maintaining solid and productive relationships. We'll have offices on site, which is going to be so helpful. And to Christine's point earlier, individuals will no longer feel isolated. They'll actually be living as part of a community within the community here on State Street. And I also wanted to mention, we are excited to be next to Commerce. I get excited from an internship perspective and from an opportunity for these young people to interface.
Open the door.
I'm so
Open.
sorry.
Sorry, Kim, go ahead.
I'm sorry. My daughter.
Yeah.
She's scary.
That we would have an unbelievable opportunity to pilot with Commerce and for young people to learn case management and to become possibly trained as community health workers, to be exposed to our work and to have meaningful internship opportunities, which in turn could result in paid positions within MHA. I'm sure everybody on this call understands the workforce shortage and the crisis that we have in terms of finding compassionate, capable people to enter into this caring force of human services. So for me, I am so thrilled to be located next to Commerce High School because we will have hundreds and hundreds of students to be able to tap into for workforce development and training so that they feel that they'll have a meaningful course in life in terms of employment and sustainable employment.
If I could also add, Councillor Brown, every person who served in our programs, and we serve over 200 people in the city of Springfield, goes through an assessment process and a screening process, and we take the selection and the placement of each individual very seriously. So if we felt like there was a person who would not be a good fit for this unit and for this complex, we would not place them there. We go through each individual's needs and support services and develop a housing plan for each person that is based on what they want to achieve. So if we had any concern that this would not be a good fit for somebody, we would place them somewhere else.
And I want to thank you, Kim. Also, Christine, you guys do an excellent job. Like I said, I definitely know the work you guys do. I think constituents and people had a little reserve about what was going on, and it just still gives them a chance to get some more information from you guys. You guys are always an impressive organization. I always commend you guys for your work. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you.
Councillor Govan, followed by Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm really excited about this project. Every time I drive down State Street and I see the empty Kavanaugh building, I just imagine the possibilities that can go on there. You know, and I really, I feel like I need to apologize for the verbiage that was used last week regarding the project, you know, because what that does is that just perpetuates the stigma that we know happens, you know, everywhere. Massachusetts, I was looking it up today because I wanted to bring some statistics. And Kim and Christine, you guys probably know a little bit better than me regarding the statistics, but Massachusetts is ranked number 3 in the nation in being able to provide mental health care. And that's great because we do a great job of it. However, there are in Massachusetts, 3.7% of adults live with a mental illness, and only 53% of those are in treatment. We need to do more of that. And Kim actually is involved in my mental health committee, and we're doing a mental health checkup launch. And we're talking about that, you know, and collaboration, I think, is how we're going to end the stigma. I really love that, you know, you're thinking ahead about the students at Commerce possibly participating in the program and being a part of, you know, learning about mental illness, learning about case management. You know, there's nothing to be afraid of for someone who is in treatment for mental illness, right? They have the supports, they have the services they need. There are over almost 50% of the people walking around not getting treatment for mental illness, right? And they need help, right? So these agencies like MHA and all the other ones that we're working with on the mental health committee are the ones that are responding to those needs. So I'm really, you know, hopefully going forward, we will try not to, you know, say things that is going to perpetuate the stigma that's already out there that needs to be destigmatized, right? Because as Councilor Brown said, right, in this forum right here, let me see how many people there are. There are 24 people, maybe 5 of us have a mental illness, you know, and we don't know, right? And we're productive, we're members of society, and we have to keep, you know, believing that that's how we all should be. And that's how we all could be if we have services and the proper, you know, treatment that people, you know, with mental illness have or need rather. So I just wanted to say that. And as the chair of the mental health committee, you know, I really would love for us to be more mindful of how we talk about, you know, mental illness and people with mental illness, and, you know, be aware that what the words that we say do perpetuate stigma, and we want to be really careful about that. So I'm in support of this project because I'm excited. I remember my husband actually used to work there when they used to deliver furniture. So now, and he actually used to work for MHA. I would love, you know, to bring the building back to life and to have it be something that the city and our residents could benefit from. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. I'll just remind councilors we're currently still in the hearing portion and we'll enter deliberation following. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I just want to echo what, as a member of the Mental Health Committee, what Councilor Govan has said. And what I was wondering about, and I think it's probably been answered, is we don't want to focus on the negatives, because I think there's so many positives involved in this program. And I think Kim, you, and Sarah and Christine have really kind of outlined what the benefits are. And I like the fact that you're cognizant that you want to work within the community and with your neighbors. And I am in full support. And I think there are many of us who know people or have people that have these disabilities in their families, don't want to see them stigmatized and want to see them have opportunities. So I'm 100% in support of this project.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Councilor Allen.
Thanks, Mr. President. There's so many great things about this project. Thanks to the MHA people, Kim and Chris and Sarah, for coming to explain, talk about your program. It's very helpful to hear that. I have a couple questions. One is there on-site, you know, say we're a couple of years from now and the place is functional and filled with people, is there on-site supervision, around the clock, or how does that work?
So we'll have staff in the building 7 days a week. They will not be there 24 hours a day, but they will be there during the times when we think people are going to be most active. So probably from around 10 a.m. until maybe 7 or 8 o'clock at night, but we can be very flexible based on the needs of each individual person. But we will be there 7 days a week.
7 days a week, roughly 10 or 12 hours a day, something like that.
Yep.
Okay, great. And for things that happen outside of that time frame, is there a process or a way, if there were a security issue or a break-in or any of that sort of thing?
Yeah. So we do have on-call services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So should there be a crisis in the building and someone is in need of mental health support or other services, our staff can be available by phone and we can get them access to on-site live support anytime they need it.
So when something occurs, if it were to occur to one of the people that's a resident there, they would be, well, I guess they would anyway, they would be notifying or have to notify somebody by phone or whatever that there's an issue.
Correct.
Okay.
We do,
Go ahead.
and the smaller brain injury residential program, there will be someone there 24 hours a day, though they will not be part of that program. It will be an MHA representative after hours 24/7.
For the 4 units with the brain injury people.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for the info. Thank you. All set, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Allen. Councilor Davila.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Mr. President, and to the MHA staff. Thank you for showing up and educating us on this matter. This is a great conversation. I honestly wish you guys were here last time so that we could kind of just right the first time. But since now that you're here, so how many total units is that again for the building?
31.
31. 4 are going to be dedicated for TBIs.
Correct.
Okay, now we're going to have somebody there 7 days a week for about 10, 12 hours for the TBI unit.
The brain injury unit will be 24/7.
Or 24/7. And so the 10 to 12 hours, somebody on site, is that for who? For the remainder or?
Yes, correct.
So it's not
Yes.
going to be like one person per unit. It's going to be one person for the remainder of the 27 other units.
Right. So we'll have 2 staff who are assigned to work there. And their schedules will be 7 days a week. So one staff will be full-time Tuesday through Saturday. One staff will be full-time Sunday through Thursday. We'll flex their hours based on what we believe are the needs of the community and the needs of the residents. And if we
Okay.
need to add additional staffing, we have the capacity to do that as well. But that's what we anticipate starting.
Oh, I understand. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, good. And my last question is, in terms of security, what kind of security? You got security cameras, good lighting?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So we are going to have a state-of-the-art security system that will provide security for residents or residents or friends of residents who need to access the building. So we just, based on this being a new building, it being over 10 units, there's just it's a building requirement that there needs to be an audio component and a visual component where you can see people entering and access the building. And then we're just going to have a security system in the building so we can see all movement in the building and around the building. And that'll just really be the responsibility of myself, the developer.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you, Mitchell. Thank you to the MHA staff. Thank you, Mr. President. Those are my questions.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say thank you to Donald Mitchell for a grand idea. I know that you presented it to me early on, and I thought it was a wonderful idea then. This has been a building that has been dilapidated for a long time, since I went to Commerce way back those years ago. So we won't tell how many years ago that was, but it hasn't been Kavanaugh's in a very long time, and it's just been sitting there and now we are going to be doing something very great with it. And I'm glad to see MHA in the space. When I think about mental health illness, I think about Bishop Boyd, and I don't know how many folks know Bishop Boyd, but he was a member of the C3 community. He worked so hard to dispel the stigmatism of mental health. I have mental health in my family. We all do, right? But my mom's brother and sister both struggle with mental health illness. So growing up, we didn't understand it, and it was terms like, oh, crazy, nuts, all those terms that we don't want to use anymore. And it's a condition. It's just like any other illness that folks suffer from. And so we definitely want to make sure that when there's an opportunity to help people, to make sure that they are being safe, best choices, getting the medication that they need to be the great citizens and residents of the community. We should be all for that. We should be doing it. And I'm not saying that you, Councilor Brown, is not for helping folks with mental health illness. I can understand how he would also be concerned about the students at the high school. Like you said, I think it's a great opportunity for internships to see if any of the students want to go into that field of service and things like that. So I want to thank Kim, Sarah, and Christine also for joining. And, I worked with Kim when I worked at HCC on a program to get folks employed with MHA. And it's a wonderful program that you offer at MHA. So I definitely support this, and I'm going to vote for it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Donald. I want to thank MHA. A lot of times I think when it comes to certain projects in the community, people throw up red flags. I did speak with Councilor Edwards. He filled me in information about the project, but it was really, and I am familiar with MHA. It was really to figure out what was going to go there. When you speak of the high school with people with brain injury during that time, and you having the security and people there in place during the school time, it now, I believe people would now say, oh yeah, I didn't know that. I think a lot of times that's MHA, like Councilor Dowley has said, being here, this wouldn't even have been an issue. Because I can assure you, I do know, I can tell you when I briefly said about Donald Mitchell to my colleagues, I know people who do know him, I know of him. He's a respected person in the community. I do trust him. It was just finding out exactly what was going on in there. I want to commend you, Donald, and your due diligence. Hopefully I didn't drive you crazy, brother, but you definitely do a great job. And MHA, Kim, I know you guys reached out. I've talked to you guys. You guys do an excellent job. And of course, I definitely will support you, Donald. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Hurst.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say that I too am really excited about the project. Mr. Mitchell, I appreciate all of the work that you put in to make this project come to fruition. We know that as a result of COVID, those individuals that have been suffering from mental health, their conditions have been exacerbated by COVID and by everything that has happened as a result of COVID. And so the fact that not only are we having a place where folks can address the issues that may have been exacerbated by COVID, they're also going to provide housing, which we all know is so critical here in the city of Springfield to individuals who need it, so as to potentially prevent homelessness from occurring with these same individuals. So I am really excited about it. And then to top it off, the fact that you are using some of the funding from the Build Back Better program, which we all know. I know Councilor Whitfield and myself originally thought that particular program was not going to benefit those individuals who, who had struggled as a result of COVID, particularly those individuals who are people of color. And so the fact that you are able to take advantage of these funds makes this project even more of a great project for the city of Springfield. So I can't wait to support it and wish you well in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hurst. Are there any further questions relative to the hearing portion for the petitioner? Seeing none, the clerk has informed me she did actually receive testimony that we'll need to enter into the record prior to closing the hearing. So at this time, I'll recognize the clerk to read the testimony into the record that was received via email since the last hearing.
The email was received from Alan Goldsmith of Elliott Street. It reads, Dear Councilors, I'm writing to share my mixed feelings about the request for a special permit at 443 State Street. On the positive side, it's good to see a long vacant property put to laudable constructive use. Based on the architectural drawings, it looks like the old building and new construction will become attractive additions to the neighborhood. I'm told that one of the project's partners, Mental Health Associates, does excellent work. On the negative side, I have to wonder why both Mr. Mitchell, in addressing the council 2 weeks ago, and the supportive materials presented since, seem so reluctant to acknowledge the tenants who are expected to occupy these apartments. Only by reading a Mass Live May 24th article does one discover that the target population is chronically homeless and people with recovery or mental health issues. What concerns me most is not so much this particular development, but the concentration of homeless and addiction services and sex offender and low-income housing in the or adjacent to the Metro Center compared to other Springfield neighborhoods. Yes, the needs of the poor and disadvantaged must be addressed, but not at the cost of discouraging or driving away the kinds of residents and businesses a city depends on for its health and vitality. I fear that a downward spiral will be Springfield's future as long as this admittedly challenging issue is not met head-on and satisfactorily resolved. My hope is that the council will make this a primary consideration in the months and years to come. With thanks for your time and attention, I remain sincerely yours, Alan Goldsmith, Elliott Street.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, for entering that testimony into the record. Are there any further questions for the petitioner? Seeing none, without objection, I'll now declare the hearing closed and end the hearing. We'll now enter deliberation by the council. Is there any deliberation from councilors relative to the special permit? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on granting the special permit.
On granting the special permit, Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran.
No.
No, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient and the special permit is granted. Councilor Perez on the reasons.
On the reason for granted permit. Number one, the specific site is an appropriate location for such a use, structure, or condition. Number two, the use as developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood. Number three, adequate and appropriate facility will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. Number four, to incorporate the planning staff analysis into the decision at the basis of the findings.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on adopting the reasons.
On adopting the reasons, Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran.
No.
No, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the reasons are adopted. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
Next item is item 27, which is the creation of the La Marquise Local Historic District for the property known as 2612 Main Street.
Is there anybody here to speak to this item? This item is on for second and third step.
Councilors, this is Phil Dromey again. I can speak to this. Again, this is a project in the north end that received a special permit from the city council probably a month ago, I guess. This project also received CPA funding for the rehab portion of the rehab work. And as part of the funding, the CPA requires that local historic districts be created for these projects receiving this funding. So this is just a request to create a single building district.
Thank you, Mr. Dromey. Are there any questions on this item? Councilor Perez.
Yes, I need to reintegrate. This is a dynamic project. This building has been a depleted building in the neighborhood for the past 6 years. So the neighborhood is excited about this project. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. Are there any further questions or deliberation on this ordinance? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please, without objection, we'll call the roll on adopting the ordinance.
On adopting the ordinance, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown. Counselor Brown. Away, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient. Is there a motion to invoke Rule 22C?
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilor Davila and seconded by Councilor Govan to invoke Rule 22C and allow this to serve as the second and third step. Madam Clerk, please call the roll to invoke Rule 22C.
Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Dang.
Abstain, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient. Madam Clerk, please call the last item.
The last item is a code enforcement inspection ordinance.
Councilor Hurst.
Thank you, Mr. President, and to my colleagues in government. This has been an issue that has been extremely concerning to me for as long as I've been on the council. On numerous occasions, I've received phone calls from residents, and I actually have witnessed firsthand code enforcement officials, as well as individuals from the building department, physically going on to people's property without their consent. And I always wondered what justification did they have to violate what I assume was folks' right to privacy. I had a conversation with Attorney D'Souza at one point in time, and I think I didn't quite get the answer that I was looking for, and it just seemed to me that it was just flat out wrong that any city official, primarily those in code enforcement in the building department, as well as these assessor's office, felt as though they had the right to walk onto folks' property
and then sometimes wrongfully cite individuals as they essentially violated their rights. And so upon actually after two things occurred. After I initially bought a property a few months ago and saw an individual from the assessor's office coming from the back rear of the property after not having asked me permission to go onto that particular property, probably to try to assess the actual value of the house. I was extremely ticked off and actually felt violated. And I said to myself, if it's happening to me, it's probably happening to other residents. And then the last straw for me was when I actually had an officer in the building department show me the back of his badge. And I was stunned to learn that these inspectors have badges that give them authority to enter at reasonable times any building, structure, or premises in the city to perform his or her duties. Any person that obstructs an inspector from carrying out his or her duty could face criminal or civil charges. And this says this on their badge, which to me seems to be in direct conflict of individuals' Fourth Amendment rights to unreasonable searches and seizures. So after learning of all of this, I did some research on my own. I found a number of federal and state case law that does not substantiate having these code enforcement officers and as well as the assessors department come on to folks' properties whenever they so choose. And so I can only imagine the number of tickets that were issued wrongfully, the number of residences whose houses were wrongfully inspected. And then on top of that, the number of criminal and civil charges that have been wrongfully leveled. And even worse, the number of homes that have been lost as a result of these individuals obtaining access to the house without receiving their permission. And so the objective of this particular ordinance is to require these individuals to have an administrative warrant if they are going to enter an individual's properties, with the exception of an individual who has the authority to permit entry onto the property given their consent if they're 18 years of over or older, and with the exception of obviously plain view areas that can be seen from the outside of the street, or unless there are some emergency circumstances. And so all of this information in terms of what code enforcement in the building department is doing has been corroborated by many individuals that I've talked to currently and former individuals of the building and housing department. And like I said, I witnessed it firsthand and actually engaged in a conversation to find out exactly what the assessor was doing at the particular property, as I couldn't understand how he would have the audacity to go all the way into the back of someone's property. On top of that, it's a liability issue to the city of Springfield. I mean, I can't believe that these individuals who already have a difficult job would in turn, have to subject themselves to, to any injury that could potentially happen on them, to them while they're on the property wrongfully. So with that being said, I did talk to Attorney Breck, and I know this particular ordinance was new to her. She did not have enough time to vet it. And so I will motion this to committee in order to give Attorney Breck enough time to make sure that this ordinance is in compliance with our local ordinances as well as state and federal law. But I believe really what it does is just reiterate what our constitutional rights are for both residents and individuals in the code enforcement, building department, and assessor's office. So with that said, I'll make a motion to committee and we can talk about this further once we get an opinion from the law department.
Councilor Harris has made a motion to refer this to committee. It's the second by Councilman Vaughn. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on this item to committee.
On referring to committee, Councilor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton. Away, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient. This matter will be referred to the General Government Committee. Madam Clerk, is there any further business before the City Council?
No, there is not.
Seeing none, members will stand adjourned until our budget meeting tomorrow at 5:30. Speak out will be at 5 o'clock. Thank you all.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.